everybody, and welcome to the LWN Network. I'm Tammy Nation, your host of Headline Hits, usually Monday through Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time. But I have been dealing with terrible thunderstorms and tornado warnings all weekend long here in the great state of Georgia. And we did get the power back up, so I hurried up and got ready. And I thought, you know what? It's better to be late than never. I thought, why not go on and give you guys the update? Because we know that there is so much going on. I just can't even contain myself to keep up with all this, and I love to share it with you guys and hear and see your perspective on everything going on. And the weekend anymore doesn't slow down. Before, the news week used to be Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday were pretty quiet, pretty good, nothing to worry about. But that doesn't happen anymore. News is breaking constantly. It's like the news cycle can change in a matter of minutes or hours anymore. So with that being said, thanks for joining me, those of you who can join me now, and those of you who will catch me later. I sure do appreciate it. I know this was last minute, but I'm thankful to have the power back on. I'm thankful the storm didn't do much damage to our home and stuff, but please keep in prayers all the people that have been affected all across the southern states and even the Midwest with these horrible tornadoes and storms that seem to be popping up left and right the last couple weekends or so. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started on what is going on and what I wanted to bring you today. First off, the tariff storm. So we know that President Trump put in the reciprocal tariff, right? We saw him do that in the Rose Garden. Well, Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett just announced that over 50 countries have already reached out to begin negotiation following his new tariff policies. He said, I got a report from the USDR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation, but they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of tariff, and it's about time. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins stated this weekend, this whole concept about rebuilding American economy is about American goods, about American industry. It's all about that. She said that we already do live under a tariff regime in this country, but it's not the tariff. It is now the tariff regime of China, Mexico, Brazil, and Australia, and countries of Mexico that won't take our corn. Australia won't take our beef. The country of Honduras takes more pork than the entire European Union does, American pork, I should say. So from our farming and our ranching perspective, which isn't what I'm focused on, but happy to talk about, that it must change. That is what this president evoked last Wednesday. She added, so I think we'll see in a short order a really positive outcome from this. We already have these 50 countries that have come to the table after the last few days, over the last few weeks. We are willing to take a talk to us. They want to talk to us. They are desperate now. We are the economic engine of the world. It is finally time that someone stood up for America, and that someone is President Trump. And Trump also commented on the tariffs on his social media post. He's been quite busy actually on social media. He said, we have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs, which are now bringing tens of billions of dollars into the United States of America. They are already in effect and a beautiful thing to behold. The surplus with these countries has grown during the presidency of sleepy Joe Biden. We're going to reverse it and reverse it quickly. Someday, people will realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing. And I do have a couple things at the end of the show that Trump put out some statements regarding tariffs. We know that it has been a firestorm of people in panic mode and everything else over these tariffs, of putting America first. People that don't understand tariffs, people think that it's the end of the world, people not realizing how much was taken from us with tariffs over the decades, and it's about time we get that back. So the next thing we have up is FEMA on Friday announced it would redirect $895 million from a woke infrastructure program to aid disaster relief. Hallelujah. Instead of the woke infrastructure, sure, it's going to mean to redirect all that money, the $895 million. It's a lot of money to aid disaster relief. The BRIC program was yet another example of wasteful and an ineffective FEMA program. It was more concerned with political agendas than helping Americans affected by natural disasters. Under Secretary Noem's leadership, we are committed to ensuring that Americans in crises can get the help and resources they need. And a FEMA spokesperson told Breitbart News in a written statement, they had a comment that, it's about time that Americans get the help and resources they need? Do you think, how is that everything to begin with, to usher it out, to send all this aid and support to other countries while we suffer here in our own country, our own money and tax dollars going out to other countries? FEMA, under Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, ended the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities program and canceled all applications from fiscal years 2020 to 2023. All grant funds not distributed to states, tribes, territories, and local communities will be returned to either the Disaster Relief Fund or the U.S. Treasury. The BRIC program was created as part of the $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, otherwise known as the so-called infrastructure bill. We heard a lot about that in the BRIC program years ago, which is known to have many leftist carve-outs. Unfortunately, what we find is when we dig into this with this new administration, we're seeing how our money was misused and misapplied. The 2021 BRIC program focused on, among other things, grants to emphasize equity considerations through further assessment of vulnerable communities, a broadened range of stakeholder input, and more varied partnerships. BRIC's priorities for the fiscal year of 2022 under the Biden administration were to incentivize natural hazard risk reduction activities that mitigate risk to public infrastructure and disadvantaged communities. Projects that incorporate nature-based solutions, which includes, among other proposals, creating economic growth through green jobs and increased property values. Projects that enhance climate resilience and adoption and enforcement of the latest. The so-called infrastructure bill allocated $1 billion for BRIC over 5 years. $134 million was spent for roughly 450 applications. And FEMA believes more than $2.5 billion will remain in the Disaster Relief Fund to assist with disaster response and recovery communities. The program's ending would work to align with President Trump's executive orders and Secretary Noem's directives to better support states and local communities with disaster planning and response. We know it's been criminal the way the people in Hawaii, the Carolinas, and all across this country have been so left alone and abandoned during these floods and these fires over in California as well, that putting it back to the states and local communities, they can move the help and the relief much faster. While the Biden administration spent money on efforts that hope to ensure equity in its infrastructure projects, the Trump administration and Secretary Noem have focused on combating illegal immigration and ensuring national security. FEMA under Noem terminated 4 employees who circumvented leadership to make payments for migrant housing in a New York hotel. So they have to stay on top of this because there are people still bucking the system and try to not listen to the direction that they are giving with this new administration. Next up, we have TikTok still has some more time to tick. It's still ticking for now. President Trump has granted TikTok a second 75-day extension to comply with a law that requires the hugely popular video app to either sell its U.S. operation or face a ban in the country. We do not want TikTok to go dark, Trump wrote on Truth Social. We look forward to working with TikTok and China to become close to closing the deal. The platform is currently owned by Chinese company ByteDance. Trump's first extension was granted after he took office in January and was set to expire on Saturday. The social media platform, which says it has more than 170 million users in the U.S., must close in the U.S. under the law passed by Congress unless a buyer is found. In a statement on Friday, ByteDance said it has been in discussion with the Trump administration, but an agreement has not been executed. They are the key matters to be resolved. Any agreement will be subject to the approval under Chinese law. Congress passed a bipartisan law last year that gave ByteDance 6 months to sell its controlling stake in TikTok or see the app blocked in the U.S. Opponents of a ban have cited freedom of speech as a reason for keeping the platform open. The new extension comes as the Trump administration tries to broker a deal to bring the social media platform under American ownership and keep the popular app running in the U.S. But the deal does require more work to ensure all necessary approvals are signed, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform. He's been keeping us up to date on everything, you guys, on all his social media platforms, through pressers, through different articles, through newspapers, news articles. It's very transparent. When you want to look up something, you're sure to find it. A TikTok deal was reportedly nearly finalized Wednesday, but it fell apart after Trump on the same day announced sweeping global tariffs, including on China. ByteDance representatives contacted the White House to inform them China would no longer approve the deal unless negotiations on the tariffs could take place. And then the unnamed source said the plan had been for Trump to sign an order initiating a 121-day period for closing the deal, allowing time to finish paperwork and secure financing. The agreement had won approval from existing investors, new investors, ByteDance, and the U.S. government, but China backed out since Trump imposed the global import taxes, CBS reported. The Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C., said in a statement that it opposed practices that violate the basic principles of the market economy. Reports suggest several potential buyers for TikTok have cropped up in recent days. If you haven't heard, Amazon did put a last-minute bid offer into the White House to acquire the platform, though the firm has yet to comment on that situation. Several other potential buyers include billionaire Frank McCourt, together with Canadian businessman Kevin O'Leary. Alexis Ohanian, who co-founded Reddit, has said he has joined McCourt's bid as well. Computing giant Microsoft, private equity giant Blackstone, venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz has said in search engine Perplexity AI, they're all reporting in the runnings for stake in TikTok. So a lot of interest there. Trump has said his administration was in touch with 4 separate groups interested in a potential TikTok deal, though he has not yet named them. And Vice President J.D. Vance is spearheading the administration effort to find a buyer. The president also has suggested the U.S. could offer a deal where China agrees to approve a TikTok sale in exchange for relief from U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. We hope the continuing work in the good faith with China, who I understand are not very happy about our reciprocal tariffs, Trump wrote on Truth Social. He added that the trade levels are the most powerful economic tool and very important to our national security. So there is a lot going back and forth with this deal with TikTok and the other things going on. Also, the Department of Health and Human Services, led by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he has fired Anthony Fauci's wife, Christine Grady, from her post heading up the National Institute of Health Clinical Center's Bioethics Department. Kennedy reportedly fired Grady on Tuesday, according to Politico, which spoke to several individuals familiar with the matter. Further, Kennedy is also said to have reassigned a handful of Fauci colleagues. Fauci, who led the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and served as a medical advisor to the White House during the pandemic, has come under fire for the past few years for giving out controversial advice. We're well aware of that. We've seen all the videos that he said one thing, then said another thing, the complete opposite. He supported lockdowns, masking, all across the country here, even across the world. He also supported vaccines, as we know, none of which prevented transmission of the coronavirus, which unfortunately on the back end of this 4 years later, almost 5 years later, we find out that all the mandates he put down, all the problems that it caused people, all the health concerns and everything, all that he mandated was for naught, because none of it prevented transmission of the coronavirus. Next up, during a speech at Hamilton College, Barack Obama's back. He said he's trying to dig himself out of a hole after 2 terms at the White House took a toll on his marriage. He said, I was in a deep deficit with my wife, so I've been trying to dig myself out of the hole by doing occasionally fun things. That kind of sounds lame, doesn't it? Obama also took a swipe at Trump during his remarks at Hamilton College. It is up to all of us to fix this, Obama said during a speech at Hamilton College. It is not going to be because somebody comes and saves you. The most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person who says, no, that's not right. It's too bad, in my opinion, and it's unfortunate he didn't listen to those who he's talking about here in this little moment. Next up, the U.S. Supreme Court, in a 5-4 vote on Friday, sided with the Trump administration and blocked a Massachusetts judge's order to require it to reinstate $250 million in Department of Education DEI training to 8 states. The Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration to terminate education department grants for teacher training that officials deemed to violate their new policy opposing diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. The decision blocks a Massachusetts-based judge ruling that said the administration had failed to follow the correct legal process in terminating the grants. About $65 million in grant payments are outstanding. The decision is the first win for President Trump at the Supreme Court level in his second term. 5 of the court's conservatives were in the majority, while Chief Justice John Roberts joined the 3 liberals in dissent. So we have to keep track of this. We have to make sure that we pay attention to who is doing what with these different actions, with these different rulings. Justice John Roberts joined the 3 liberals in the dissent. Now, imagine not wanting to get the DEI program out of our education system after we see what is done and what it is offered, which is not good things to children, to parents, to teachers. So he still supported the liberals on this. Next up, Leonel Moreno, the now deported Venezuelan illegal migrant Tik Tok influencer who taught other illegal migrants how to break into American homes on social media, will be prosecuted for, get this, hate crimes and child exploitation. Venezuelan Attorney General Tariq Saab announced on Thursday. The Venezuelan Public Ministry made the announcement on its official Instagram account. In the statement, Saab said Moreno published criminal content inciting hatred against Venezuelan citizens through social media. Saab pointed out that he also used his underage daughter, thus defiling his own family in order to profit illicitly. So at least we're starting to see some people pay the price for the decisions that they're making. Next up, this was very interesting. Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, had some comments yesterday that I thought were important to read to you guys. First up, he said, headed back to DC today, and I want to reassure you that nothing is happening here that is happening by accident because of the sensitivity of what the FBI deals with. Both the director and I have to be circumspect in what we can make public. Bad guys read this stuff too. Neither one of us came here to play games. Measures by us by our results. You will see them. But just because you don't see something happening right now, this second, doesn't mean it isn't happening. I'll conclude by stating that not every result is going to please everyone. That's just pandering. It is not leadership. Complex problems require diligence and a reform-oriented process to create lasting changes, or else you're simply putting a bandage on a gun, that wound that is going to do you no good. Let's do this right. God bless America and all those who defend her. And then he also added to that statement, because we know there's a lot of talk out there. Nobody has trust in the FBI or the government. What's going on? We're still upset about the Epstein files. We're upset because in the Kennedy files, there really was no big bombshell. There's a lot of redactions out there. There's a lot of promises that have been made, but there's a lot of questions we as American citizens still have. So Dan added saying, your comments and criticisms are not only welcome, but they are helpful. We work for you, the American people. Your feedback is invaluable. All I ask is that you consider the following feedback to the feedback. When you see something happen and the entire story isn't public and the underlying facts are not public and may appear counterintuitive to our reform agenda, I promise you it is not an accident. Ask yourself, why would I sign on to something like this? Otherwise, it is a desire to be wealthy, maybe famous, connected, or to be a future lobbyist. If that sounds ridiculous, it's because it is. I realized when I signed up that I'd never be able to fully explain some decisions we make due to legal and ethical constraints, but that's a pill I agreed to swallow when I was sworn in. And in conclusion, I realized that asking you to trust me is a waste of time. Watch what happens, continue to demand results, be cautious of the narrative traps, and let time put the puzzle pieces together. And what we're doing will make sense. I hear you, I see you, and your feedback is very welcome. So I thought that was a very sensible statement to put out when we have such a distrust of so many things going on in this country right now. And I will put my faith in them. It's better than just assuming nothing's going to happen. We need things to change. We need things to happen. And it is true. You can't always tell everything at the moment you're doing that. So it is good not to make assumptions. Also, coming up probably pretty soon, if not now already, President Trump is meeting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. They're going to have a discussion on the imposed global tariffs that is just making noise all across the world, really. People are not happy about this. But this meeting does come at a critical time to talk about serious issues. And you know, Donald Trump did put this out on his social media as well, on Truth Social. And I thought this was important because he's trying to ease the minds of each and every one of us. Unlike the last administration, who really, we didn't know who was doing what, when, where, why, or how. We've got Donald Trump's administration that is being, like I said, very transparent. When you want to look something up, you can find it. You can find answers. You can go to whitehouse.gov. They have all kinds of stuff there for you to dig through. And it's easy to find. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand. But he said, Donald J. Trump said, the United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panikin. And I love that new term. So don't be a panikin. He said, and that is a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, be courageous and patient, and greatness will be the result. So I do have faith in him. The man did prove himself the first go around in his first 4 years in his first term. And this time, like I've said before, and you guys know, he's got experience this time. He knows better. He knows that there are people out there that seem to be his friend or seem to want to make deals and seem to be on his side that aren't. So he's a lot more, his antenna is tuned in much better. And at a time like this, when all these things are going on with Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, all of that, I am very thankful that he is in the seat at this time, because I don't know how much longer we would have lasted or how good in shape we would be in if the last president was still in that seat. And then speaking of China, like I talked about at the beginning, I gave the story at the beginning of the show. Well, this came out. This is what I'm talking about on China, how things change like boom, 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 this fast. President Trump took this out on his social media, on Truth Social again. He said, yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs on 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation. Despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, 2025, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50%, effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Donald J. Trump is meaning business. There is a lot of balls in the court, let's just say, all kinds of things going on, trying to secure Tik Tok with China and making a deal to all of a sudden China ups their tariffs on us, retaliatory tariffs of 34%. And now Trump is fighting back. And he says they've got till April 9th is when they're going to go into effect. Tomorrow is when they're going to go into effect, as if the 50% tariffs, but the 9th is when that is going to start going. Tomorrow is the warning of, hey, you better buck up. You better have a talk with me. You better take that back. So that's a lot of news for a Monday, you guys. A lot that happened over the weekend, and I didn't even cover everything, but I covered the most important things, I thought. Like I said, Trump, a great president, is having a meeting with President Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House, talking about Israel and all the tariffs, the different things. And on a positive note, everybody thinks that like they're being a panikin. I love that new term, don't be a panikin. Thinking that everything was going to go to hell in a handbasket. The stock's up, the Dow's up, everything's up today, as Europe rescinded and decided to have zero tariffs on us, and we have zero tariffs on them. So Europe did agree to that, which is a good start. They're a strong country, a big country. So that is looking good. So I love the idea that President Trump is leading like a strong leader in times of trouble and uncertainty by keeping we the people informed, by being a strong leader, a great president. And whether you agree with him or not, it's about time, or how he does it. It's about time America is first. We've been shouting that for a very long time, and it is so refreshing to be heard. Are there going to be bumps and bruises? Are there going to be challenges along the way? Are some of us going to be in a hurtful situation temporarily while he works through all of this and the changes are made and things happen? Absolutely. But the thing is, how bad have we been hurting for the last 5 years? If you think about that, the last 4 at least, but 5. As soon as he stepped out of office, look what President Biden did at the time, signing all those EOs to get out everything that Trump put in that was pro-America. And that's my biggest thing. You're disliking a president that is trying to bring things back into this country and create jobs for us, instead of agreeing with him. You have so much despite and hate for someone, and you're not giving him a chance to work it through. But a lot of people were very quiet when it came to Biden, because they were making money, right? They were the ones that were wheeling and dealing, and maybe on the dark side were making a lot of money. But those are the very ones that are speaking up now, screaming and yelling, not liking what's happening. But you know what? The thing is, the truth will set you free. The truth is always going to have a light shining on the darkness and the lies. And this country, I am very hopeful and optimistic for this country. Even though we do have a fight ahead and a struggle ahead, at least we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, instead of just having hopelessness like we did with the last administration. So thanks for joining me once again today, you guys, for the late version of Headline Hits. Fingers crossed, prayers up that our power stays on and these storms evaporate and go away, so I can be back tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time, for Tuesday's Headline Hits with you guys here on the LWN Network. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. God bless. And hang in there. We got this. Bye-bye.